Part 2. And corrupter of the youth, and he does not believe in the gods of the state, and has other new divinities of his own. That is the sort of charge, and now let us examine the particular accounts. He says that I am a doer of evil who corrupt the youth, but I say, O men of Athens, that Meleticus is a doer of evil. And the evil is that he makes a joke of a serious matter, and is too ready at bringing other men to trial for pretended zeal and interest about matters in which he really never had the smallest interest. And the truth of this I will endeavor to prove. Come hither, Meleticus. Let me ask you a question. You think a great deal about the improvement of youth? Yes, I do. Tell the judges then who is their improver, for you must know that you have taken the pains to discover their corrupter, and you are inciting and accusing me before them. Speak then, and tell the judges who their improver is. Observe, Meleticus, that you are silent and have nothing to say. But is not this rather disgraceful, and a very considerable proof of what I am saying, that you have no interest in the matter? Speak up, friend, and tell us who their improver is. The laws. But that, my good sir, is not my meaning. I want to know the person who, in the first place, knows the laws. The judges, Socrates, who are present in the court. What do you mean to say, Meleticus? They are able to instruct and improve youth? Certainly they are. What, all of them, or some only, and not others? All of them. By the goddess, here, that is good news. There are plenty of improvers then. And what do you say of the audience? Do they improve them? Yes, they do. And the senators? Yes, the senators improve them. But perhaps the members of the citizen assembly corrupt them. Or do they too improve them? They improve them. Then every Athenian improves and elevates them, all with the exception of myself. I alone am their corrupter? Is that what you affirm? That is what I stoutly affirm. I am very unfortunate if that is true. But suppose I ask you a question. What do you say that this also holds true in the case of horses? Does one man do them harm and all the world good? Is not the exact opposite of this true? One man is able to do to them good, or at least not many. The trainer of horses, that is to say, does them good, and others who have to do with them rather injure them. Is that not true, Meleticus, of horses, or of any other animal? Yes, certainly, whether you and Meleticus say yes or no, that is no matter. Happy indeed would be the condition of youth if they had one corrupter only, and all the rest of the world were their improvers. And you, Meleticus, have sufficiently shown that you never had a thought about the young. Your carelessness is seen in your not caring about matters spoken of in this very indictment. And now, Meleticus, I must ask you another question. Which is better, to live among bad citizens or among good ones? Answer, friend, I say, for that is a question which may be easily answered. Do not the good do their neighbors good, and the bad do them evil? Certainly. And is there anyone who would rather be injured than benefited by those who live with them? Answer, my good friend. The law requires you to answer. Does anyone like to be injured? Certainly not. And when you accuse me of corrupting and deteriorating the youth, do you allege that I corrupt them intentionally or unintentionally? Intentionally, I say. But you have just admitted that the good do their neighbors good, and the evil do them evil. Now is that a truth which your superior wisdom has recognized thus early in life, and I, at my age, in such darkness and ignorance, as to not know that if I am a man with whom I have to live as corrupted by me, I am very likely to be harmed by him, and yet I corrupt him, and intentionally too? That is what you are saying, and of that you will never persuade me, or any other human being. But either I do not corrupt them, or I corrupt them unintentionally, so that on either view of the case you lie. If my offense is unintentional, the law has no recognizance of unintentional offenses. You ought to have taken me privately and warned me and admonished me, for if I had been better advised, I should have left off doing what I only did unintentionally. No doubt I should, whereas you hated to converse with me or teach me, but you indicted me in this court, which is a place not of instruction but of punishment. I have shown Athenians, as I am saying, that Meleticus has no care at all, great or small, about the matter. But I still should like to know, Meleticus, in what am I affirmed to corrupt the youth? I suppose you mean, as I infer from your indictment, that I teach them not to acknowledge the gods which the state acknowledges, but some other new divinities or spiritual agencies in their stead. These are lessons which corrupt the youth, as you say? Yes, that I say emphatically. Then by the gods, Meleticus, of whom we are speaking, tell me in the court, in somewhat plainer terms, what you mean, for I do not as yet understand whether you affirm that I teach others to acknowledge some gods, and therefore to believe in gods, and am not an entire atheist. This you do not lay to my charge, but only that they are not the same gods which the city recognizes. The charge is that they are different gods, or do you mean to say that I am an atheist simply, or am a teacher of atheism? I mean the latter, that you are a complete atheist. This is an extraordinary statement, Meleticus. Why do you say that? Do you mean that I do not believe in the godhead of the sun or moon, which is the common creed of all men? I assure you, judges, that he does not believe in them, for he says that the sun is stone and the moon is earth. Friend Meliticus, you think that you are accusing Anaxagoras, and you have but opinion of the judges, if you fancy them ignorant to such a degree as to not know that those doctrines are found in the books of Anaxagoras, the Clamasian, who is full of them. And these are the doctrines which the youth are said to learn of Socrates, when there are not unfrequently exhibitions of them at the theatre, price admission on a dogma at the most. And they might cheaply purchase them, and laugh at Socrates who pretends to farther such immunities. And so, Meliticus, you really think that I do not believe in any god? I swear by Zeus that you believe absolutely in nothing, none at all. You are a liar, Meliticus, not believing by yourself, for I cannot help thinking, O man of Athens, that Meliticus is reckless and impudent, and that he has written this indictment in a spirit of mere wantonness and youthful bravado. He has not compounded a riddle. Thinking of trying me, he said to himself, I shall see whether this wise Socrates will discover my ingenious contradiction, or whether I shall be able to deceive him and the rest of them. For he certainly does appear to me to contradict himself in the indictment, as much as he has said that Socrates is guilty of not believing in the gods, and yet of believing in them. This surely is a piece of fun. I should like you, O men of Athens, to join me in examining which I conceive to be a consistency, and do you, Meliticus, answer. I must remind you that you are not to interrupt me if I speak in my accustomed manner. Did ever man, Meliticus, believe in the existence of human beings, and not in human beings? I wish men of Athens that would answer, and not be always trying to get up an interruption. Did ever any man believe in horsemanship, and not in horses? Or in a flute playing, and not in flute players? No, my friend. I will answer to you and to the court, and you refuse to answer for yourself. There is no man who ever did. But now please to answer the next question. Can a man believe in spirits and divine agency, and not in spirits or demigods? He cannot. I am glad that I have extracted that answer by the assistance of the court. Nevertheless, you swear in the indictment that I teach and believe in divine or spiritual agencies, new or old, no matter for what. At any rate, I believe in spiritual agencies, you say and swear in the affidavit. But if I believe in divine beings, I must believe in spirits or demigods. Is that not true? Yes, that is true, for I may assume that your silence gives us assent to that. Now what are spirits or demigods? Are not either gods or their sons of gods? Is that true? Yes, that is true. But this is just the ingenious riddle of which I was speaking, the demigods or spirit or gods. And you say first that I don't believe in gods, and then again that I do believe in gods. That is, if I believe in demigods. But if the demigods are the legitimate sons of gods, whether by the nymphs or by any other mothers, as I thought that all men will allow, necessarily implies the existence of their parents. You might as well affirm the existence of mules, and deny that horses and asses. Such nonsense, Meliticus, could only have been intended by you as a trial of me, if you have put this into the indictment because you had nothing real of which to accuse me. But no one who has a particle of understanding will ever be conceived by you that the same man can believe in divine and superhuman things, and yet not believe there are gods and demigods and heroes. I have said enough in answer to the charge of Meliticus, and any elaborate defense is unnecessary. But as I was saying before, I certainly have many enemies, and this is what will be my destruction if I am destroyed. If I am certain, not Meliticus, nor yet Anytus, but the envy, the detraction of the world, which has been the death of many good men, and will probably be the death of many more, there is no danger of my being the last of them. Some will say, and are you not ashamed, Socrates, of a course of life which is likely to bring you to ultimately end? To him I may affirm answer, there you are mistaken. A man who is good for anything ought not to calculate the chances of living or dying. He ought only to consider whether in doing anything he is doing right or wrong, acting the part of a good man or bad. Whereas according to your view, the heroes who fell at Troy were not good for much, and the son of Thetis above all, who altogether despised danger and compares him with disgrace. And when his goddess mother said to him that his eagerness to slay Hector, that if he avenged his companion Patroclus and slew Hector, he would die himself, fate, as she said, waits upon you next after Hector. He, hearing this, utterly despised danger and death, and instead of fearing them, feared rather to live in dishonor, and not avenge his friend. Let me die next, he replies, and be avenged of my enemy, rather than abide here by the weak chips, scorn and burden of the earth. Had Achilles any thought of death and danger? For wherever a man's place is, whether the place which he has chosen or that in which he has been placed by a commander, there he ought to remain in the hour of danger. He should not think of death, or of anything, but of disgrace. And this, O men of Athens, is a true saying. Strange indeed would be my conduct, O men of Athens, if I who, when I was ordered by the generals whom you chose to command me at Potidæa and at Philippius and Delimum, remained, they placed me like any other man facing death. If I say, now when, as I conceive and imagine, God orders me to fulfill the philosopher's mission of searching into myself and other men, I would desert my post through fear of death, or any other fear. That would indeed be strange, and I might justly be arraigned in court for denying the existence of the gods, if I disobeyed the oracle because I was afraid of death. I should be fancying that I was wise when I was not wise. For this fear of death is indeed the pretense of wisdom, and not really wisdom, being the appearance of knowing the unknown, since no one knows whether death, which they in their fear apprehended to be great evil, may not be the greatest good. If there are not here conceit of knowledge, which is a disgraceful sort of ignorance, this is the point in which I think I am superior to men in general, in which I might perhaps fancy myself wiser than the other men. That whereas I know but little of the world below, I do not suppose that I know. But I do know that injustice and disobedience to a better, whether God or man, is evil and dishonorable, and I will never fear or avoid a possible good rather than a certain evil. And therefore, if you let me go now, and reject the counsel of Athene, who said that if I were not put to death, I ought not to have been prosecuted, and that if I escape now, your sons will be at utterly ruins by listening to my words. If you say to me, Socrates, this time will not mind Athens, will let you off, but upon one condition, that are to inquire and speculate in this any more, and that if you are caught doing this again, you shall die. If this was the condition on which you let me go, I should reply, men of Athens, I honor and love you, but I shall obey God rather than you. And while I have life and strength, I shall never cease from the practice and teaching of philosophy, exhorting anyone who might after my manner, and convincing him, saying, O my friend, why do you, who are a citizen of the great and mighty and wise city of Athens, care so much about laying up the greatest amount of money and honor and reputation, and so little about wisdom and truth and the great improvements of the soul, which you never regard or heed at all? Are you not ashamed of this? And if the person with whom I am arguing says, Yes, but I do care, I do not depart or let him go at once. I interrogate and examine and cross-examine him. And if I think that he has no virtue, but only says that he has, I reproach him with undervaluing the greater and not overvaluing the less. And this is to say to everyone whom I meet, young and old, citizen and alien, but especially to the citizens, inasmuch as they are my brethren. For this is the command of God, as I would have you know, and I believe that this day no greater good has ever happened in the state than my service to the God. For I do nothing but go about persuading you all, old and young alike, not to take thought for your persons and your properties, but first and chiefly to care about the greatest improvement of the soul. I tell you that virtue is not given by money, but that from virtue come money and every other good of man, public as well as private. This is my teaching, and if this is the doctrine which corrupts the youth, my influence is ruinous indeed. But if anyone says that this is not my teaching, he is speaking an untruth. Wherefore, O men of Athens, I say to you, do as Athens bids, or not as Athens bids. Neither acquit me or not, but whatever you do, know that I shall never alter my ways, not even if I have to die many times. Men of Athens, do not interrupt, but hear me. There was an agreement between us that you should hear me out, and I think that what I am going to say will do you good, for I have something more to say, at which you may be inclined to cry out, but I beg that you will not do this. I would have you know that if you kill such a man as I, you will injure yourselves more than you will injure me. Politicus and Elatus will not injure me. They cannot, for it is not in the nature of things that a bad man should injure a better than himself. I do not deny that he may perhaps kill him, or drive him into exile, or deprive him of civil rights, and he may imagine, and others may imagine, that he is doing him a great injury. But in that I do not agree with him, for the evil of doing of Athenius is doing, of unjustly taking away another man's life, is greater far. And now, Athenians, I am not going to argue for my own sake, as you may think, but for yours, that you may not sin against the God, or lightly reject his boon by condemning me. For if you kill me, you will not easily find another like me, who, if I may use such a ludicrous figure of speech, am a sort of Galfly, given to the state by the God. And the state is like a great and noble steed who is tardy in his motions, owing to his very size. He requires to be stirred into life. But I am that Galfly which God has given the state, and all day long, in all the places, and always fastening upon you, arousing and persuading and reproaching you, as you will not easily find another like me. I would advise you to spare me. I dare say that you may feel irritated at being suddenly awakened when you are caught napping, and you may think that if you were to strike me dead, as Titus advises, which you easily might, then you would sleep on for the remainder of your lives unless God is in his care, if he gives you another Galfly. That I am given to you by God is proved by this, that if I had been like other men, I should not have neglected all my concerns, or patiently seen the neglect of them during all these years, and yet been doing yours, coming to you individually,